Hello and welcome to your daily Detroit, showing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. It is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. I am J.R. Stace, coming to you from our studio at Tech Town in beautiful Detroit, Michigan. And to my left is none other than the excellent Norris Howard. How are you?
I'm doing well, man, and it's always a good day when you get a chance to visit the new and improved Michigan Central, and we got a chance to do that, and we got something to share with everybody. We got some good news, good stuff to talk about today. It's really nice.
And it's always fun to do like a manly field trip.
Yeah.
Like a bro field trip, if you will.
A bro date. We had a bro date.
But before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsor today, because today's show is brought to you in part by your local Metro Detroit Best Choice Roofing. In my mind, there's one choice for roofing around here, and I'd go with your best choice. Whether it's time to replace your roof or repair it, Best Choice Roofing provides top-notch roofing services tailored to meet the unique needs of Detroit homes and businesses. They serve the entire Metro Detroit region and inside the city of Detroit, too. Find out more at bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. That's bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit, or call 313-474-7031. That's 313-474-7031. All right. Detroit has a Michelin guide.
Yeah, man. For those who don't know what a Michelin guide is, yes, the same company as the tires, but also the same company that gives us coveted Michelin restaurant stars that everybody covets. But this is a different team.
This is not that.
This is the travel team.
This makes me think of like sports. Like, This is the travel team.
Yeah, but it's like there's two different specific teams, one that deals with just restaurants, another that deals with travel. And the travel team puts together these fantastic guides that allow you to kind of see what to do and where to go in a certain city. There's only been 9 previous made for cities in the United States.
Really?
And Detroit is the 10th city. So obviously your New York, Chicago's, Miami's, and Washington, D.C.'s, they all have one. But Detroit is number 10. And I think that reflects it. You know, I think that it reflects where the city is right now, where it's going. People are excited about the city. And the guide is pretty cool. You know, there's some gaps, but at the same time, if you are a complete tourist and you have never been to Detroit ever in the history of your life, and you're just looking for stuff to do, this is a good start.
It's very interesting because it also includes a lot of things that would be for international travelers.
Yes.
Right. You'll see in there like how to go to banks. What is the age for drinking?
Is the water safe to drink?
Right. And I think this is a good thing for Detroit and Metro Detroit to highlight some of the great places that we have. And so people know why we were at Michigan Central was we were at the press event unveiling this.
Yes.
They brought up some really interesting people. I want to highlight the top attractions. They offered 3-star ratings, and now they offer various ratings. But
but 3 stars, their highest honor.
Right. So that went to the Cranbrook Educational Community, the Detroit Institute of Arts, Downtown Detroit as a concept, so within like the freeway loops, Guardian Building, and the Henry Ford Museum. And this is a rating equal to the most famous attractions in the world, such as the Louvre.
Yeah, it is literally put the DIA on the same level as the Louvre, the Guggenheim, the Musée d'Orsay, the Met, places like that.
That, to some, may feel a little unbelievable.
But that's because you're from here. I mean, if you're from Paris, the Eiffel Tower loses its luster after you've seen it every day. So, yeah, I get it. But the DIA is a special museum. It is a place that has works of art that literally are nowhere else on planet Earth. It has collections that don't exist anywhere else on Earth. So it's awesome that this reaches one of the highest honors, but also Cranbrook, which I think for a lot of folks, especially when I grew up or where I grew up, you know, we didn't really think of Cranbrook as a destination. It more so was thought of as the school. You more so thought of Cranbrook, the school, by the way, word to 8 Mile, because that's a private school. But when you go to that campus and you go up to Cranbrook and you see the architecture, you see how the gardens are laid out, and you see just how much thought and artistry is put into Cranbrook, you begin to understand that it is kind of something that is unlike anywhere else in Metro Detroit, and really that I've seen in the country.
Also helpful in this is that although it's not like the whole Michelin star thing, they do recommendations. They put like a red heart near some of the businesses. I want to give a shout out to friends of the show on multiple occasions here, okay?
Absolutely.
Castalia Cocktails, recommended.
Absolute friends of the show.
Kiesling, who has been through here, we have a whole episode, you can go back, recommended.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there are so many places. The Congregation, where we have had happy hours for this show, recommended. Look, I got to tell you, when I look at those things, I'm like, all right, I think the listeners of Daily Detroit have some taste.
They do. And I think, it really helps to emphasize that even though we just think of it as our little corner of Detroit or our little slice of this dirty town in Michigan that we love so much, there are unique places, and there are places that people will come to from other parts of the world and appreciate. And I think it's important for us in Detroit, in particular, to start looking at ourselves on that more global stage. I think a lot of times we almost compartmentalize ourselves as we compare ourselves to Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids and Chicago and Columbus, and it's like, no, get out of that. We got to start comparing ourselves to the Londons and the Parises and in these sorts of places in the world, because at one point we were on that scale.
And that plays into our other conversations as well, like our more serious conversations. Because if you're going to have a city that's going to be in those conversations, then that's a city that has a lot of things that are tight, that are coming together. You know what I mean? Now, you are a longtime Detroiter. You are a native Detroiter.
Yes, sir.
How does this guide feel to you? Like when you opened it at first, how does this feel, the vibes?
See, so the thing is, Jer, I'm a born and raised Detroiter, but I'm a different animal, but I am the same beast. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from here, but there's a lot of things that I think I do and I participate in that I'm going to be honest, even on this show that we talk about a lot, that a lot of native Detroiters simply don't have the opportunity to experience.
Or don't know to experience. We talk about, Kiesling and Castalia and so many of the other restaurants that we like to frequent down this way that a lot of folks in Detroit have never been to and don't know are around because, to be frank, they're not marketed to. I think when you have something like this, and I'm not saying that people from Detroit are going to go and pick up this guide and all of a sudden start exploring their own cities like tourists. But as a native, it showed to me that there is a lot of attraction and opportunity for even those in the city to begin to experience that maybe they haven't had a chance to. Now, is there a lot that I think we know about? Yeah, but we're very tuned in. And, we talked about this right before we came on air, is that, we kind of had to check our own privilege sometimes, in that, we get invited to things and we get to go to openings and we get to see the new thing before the new thing is open. I was at Michigan Central last night for the book release party.
Yeah.
And friends of the show are photographers with it. And, it's a beautiful thing. And there were hundreds of people there. But and I saw some listeners of the show, but I know that the vast majority of listeners, that's a world they're just not tapped into.
Yeah, and these are privileges. And so, for me, I look at something like this guy and I say, hey, there's a lot of stuff here for people to do that I think it's worth a lot of folks discovering, whether that be local, international, or native. One of the things that I will say, though, that I think is fantastic is that you open up the book. You get to page 6, which is like the first page where they start suggesting stuff for you to do. First thing they say is techno. That's crazy to me because everybody always wants to talk about, the Coney, the Lions, all this other stuff. Techno. Like, we forget about its level of importance to the rest of the world in terms of a genre. And I got a quick anecdote because I was in Paris a few years ago. And when was there for a couple weeks, and I went to a restaurant, and a guy could tell from the way I spoke French that I was American. And he said, "Well, where in America are you from?" And I said, "Detroit." And the first thing out of his mouth was not, "Oh, Eminem," was not, "Oh, that's a rough city, man," or, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." It was, "No, techno." That was the first thing out of his mouth.
When I worked corporate, we had international offices, and we would do like an all staff where everyone from around the world that were on the management teams would come to Detroit and get to show them the city. And I remember always the European delegations, especially the Lithuanian one, was all about the drinks and the techno and where can like taking it to 11, because there is just a love for electronic music from Detroit all around the world. And it's wild to me because sometimes I feel like it doesn't get enough love here. There's movement. You can occasionally do things like, for me, like one of the most magical times I've had is when I was biking on the riverfront and I ran into like a gospel house service on the riverfront.
It's like more stuff like that, please.
Yes, more like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to encourage more of, because I feel like there's just so much here to even like be a tourist in our own region in a way.
Yeah, I feel like, especially when I was coming up, a lot of it was forced underground. We used to go to techno parties out in like Core City before we called it Core City. And like we would just be at some random hollowed out like warehouse or building somewhere where some DJ plugged in and you just had a party till 4 a.m. It was all house and techno and all this stuff. And it was great, but it's not sustainable. It's organic. It's fantastic. It makes you feel like you're a part of something that is uniquely yours, but to take it to a level to where it could become a fully fledged part of the culture, I want to see more of it. I don't want to say become, but stay as a part of the culture.
Well, speaking of Detroit institutions, I want to leave with an acknowledgement, because this is the last week, I can't believe it, as his former short-time coworker, Devin Scillian.
Yeah,
this is the
man.
last week, Channel 4 News as anchor, and I truly can't believe it. I mean, I don't know him as well as some other people on the show do, but I have talked to him multiple times. I always have run into him at the Mackinac Policy Conference.
Yeah.
And always very grounded in his views on things.
He's a regular dude, man.
Right, like a regular dude who moved to Detroit and treated it as his own.
Yeah, he was like the anti-Mort Krim, who was like,
Hey, no more Krim slander
no,
here.
I'm not,
He has
I'm
been
not,
on this
no,
show.
Mort Krim is dope, but he's like this larger than life character.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like
I was not going to allow more
No.
Krim slander in this
I
house.
love everything about Mort Krim, but I'm just saying, like, Devin was so regular compared. That's why I think it kind of took him a while for people to really like embrace him, because coming after somebody like Mort Krim, man, like,
Well, and then, of course, the
dude.
colorful Mort Krim, Bill Bonds era.
Exactly. Like, that was the era of news anchor that you got. And, here came a guy who just sat and read the news and played his guitar and called it a day. And, I think in the era looking back, we will all really appreciate that about him. I think we really will.
And he was as comfortable with any interview that he did, because I've seen him just, you go to press things, you go to whatever. I just have so much respect for his breadth and his true interest in like the details of stories, and in some ways kind of inspirational for me, where it's like, hey, if we're going to do public affairs reporting, if we're going to talk about the greater story, do the homework.
Yeah,
Like,
he
lean
did
in.
do the work. He did do the work. And as somebody who aspired to be a journalist since a young boy, watching him and watching the care that he put into the stories and watching his ability to be able to talk to people from all over the city, as well as, luminaries, politicians, all that. It really, really sort of gave me perspective on how to approach the profession. And I think, I think he's going to walk out and walk away as a great example of how to be a journalist in this town, where it's easily get caught up in sensationalism and easy to get caught up in the
that's the thing.
foolishness. Yeah.
He didn't get into the foolishness. It is my sincere hope to sometime have a conversation with him on the show.
We gotta make it happen.
I feel like it would be a very special thing to do.
If any of Devin's people are listening, then we would love to have him on the show and just talk, man. Just newsman to newsman about what it's been like to put that many years in one town and how it's changed over the years. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a big loss. But hey, these things happen. We all come to new horizons.
Well, if you've got thoughts on that or on Michelin Getting the Green Guide, the book that's sitting right here at the studio, if you're looking for it, it's a pocket size thing. You can just kind of...
That's bigger than pocket size. Is backpack size.
Okay.
Yeah, it's slightly larger than pocket size.
If you've got feedback or ideas, dailydetroit@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Norris Howard.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit. Without local support, local media cannot happen. Until tomorrow, remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.